All right, Lance Mechanics here. We're about to do a brake job on a 13 Elantra, and these are some of the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a breaker bar with a 21 mil to take the tire off. You're going to need 14 mils for the caliper. You can either use a wrench or a ratchet wrench. You're going to need an 11 mil and a 12 mil for the banjo bolt if you're doing calipers. The aftermarket one's 11 mil, OEM's 12. You're going to need 2 flat screwdrivers or 1, whatever works, the bigger the better. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver to take out the screws on the rotor. You might need a pair of vice grips to pull the parking brake cable out. And the most important tool here is the line lock, which keeps the brake fluid from draining and creating more problems. And then when you're done, a torque wrench to torque the lug nuts. Okay, we've already diagnosed this. We know it needs a caliper. So I'm going to put this line lock on it, get the brake hose off, and then pull the caliper, and we're going to go from there. So I like to put these in the middle here. Some guys may not like them, but just don't crank them down crazy. There we go, and it's snug. And the first thing you're going to want to do is crack this banjo bolt. It's a lot easier when this is still bolted in. So this is going to be a 12 mil. There. And I'm just going to snug her back up because I want something to catch the fluid. All right, now that we got our fluid drain, I'm just going to crack her again. I'm going to pull it all the way out, and be careful, sometimes you got 2 copper washers in here. The new caliper may not come with them. I've seen it before, so just take your time. That's the banjo bolt out, and because we have the line lock on there, it may not leak that much. So you can use your wrench or a screwdriver, but just pry right here gently, wiggle it around, and she comes out. And there's that 1 copper washer I was talking about. And there's 1 on the bottom. Perfect. And it's not leaking because the line lock's on. So we're going to tuck that somewhere safe where it won't get dirty. I'm pretty comfortable with up here or over here. Perfect. Next, it's going to be a 14 mil. I'm just using basic tools here. Wherever you want to pull from. I like to pull up because I know I'm not going to hit anything. Crack the top one, but don't take it off. And crack the bottom one. Cool, and you should be able to thread those out by hand. Same thing, put that off the side. Now we're going to work on the top one. All right, we're taking this off, and we're replacing this caliper today because we tried threading this back and she was seized, and she's pretty rusty, so we'll get a new caliper in. All right, and it's 14 mils on the back, and this will take a little force, so you can take 2 wrenches like this and pull on up. Crack that one and work on the next one. And if you have a ratchet here, it'll be super easy. We're just taking our time here with a wrench to show you how it's done. Like I said, you can use a wrench or a ratchet. This speeds it up for sure. Is she ever on there? So if the caliper's stuck, it's because the pads are on there. So just come in between here and push her down. Just slide right off. All right, now that this caliper's off, I'm going to show you how to take this parking brake off. You're going to need a wide screwdriver, and you're just going to pry up and back and forth. Doesn't have to be too fancy. Take your time. And that's going to take the retaining clip off and put this in a safe spot. Next, you're going to just pry this back right here. This might take a few seconds or tries. And there, pop right up like that. So you put right here, move it, and then push up with one of your fingers. And you may have to hammer this to get it off. So just give her a good whack and she should break loose. Most OEM brakes still have these screws holding it. If you live in the north, a lot of guys torch them out and we don't put them back in. Luckily, these ones move pretty freely. But if you had one that was stuck, you can use an impact. It's a little thing that you put on here and you hit it with a hammer. It'll move. And if you have an impact, you can put it on an impact with a Phillips bit. It may snap, but you may get it off. And the other way is you put a long bar through here that holds it, and you get on there and you try and crank it. But these ones are coming off. All right, because I'm an idiot and I left my hammers all underground, I'm going to show you how to get this rotor off with just using the bar you've been using for this whole job. So you're going to come over here behind it. You're going to put the bar in here. There's no sensors, I've already checked, so you're good to pry on it. And you're going to give it a good whack. And that came off way easier than it should have. Old hammer app. And look at how crusty that is. Welcome to the Great White North. We'll clean that up. You can buy this little attachment and get it on any drill. I'm sure everybody owns a drill. It's a cheap attachment and it's got an abrasive on it. And we'll just put her on drill here and keep it slow. All right, now you notice there's all these little spots we missed in between. We're just gonna get a file in there and take our time. You just want to make it flat, and you can use the edge here to get right here. That's what's gonna hold your caliper on, or sorry, your rotor. And you're just getting rid of all the rust. You can do this with a flathead screwdriver. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it all even. Got that there, and now we can use the file on its edge to get this. And I'm confident that won't vibrate. And now we're gonna lube. All right, next we're gonna lube behind here. So this does one of two things. It helps keep rust from forming behind here and changing how high and low the rotor is. And also it helps the next guy who goes to take this off. If, let's say this seizes it on here and you want to do a wheel bearing, you got to destroy the brakes. It just creates a lot more problems than you really need. So if you lube this, don't be scared to lube it. It's going to save you a lot of time down the road, and the next guy will thank you.
And you don't need the brand name, but just any kind of ceramic brake
Yeah,
lubricant?
so this is a ceramic brake lube. I'm not too afraid of getting it on the wheel studs. It's not going to make a big difference, but I still want to clean it up. And this ceramic brake lube will not contaminate the brakes, and it keeps it nice and lubricated. All right, and here we have our rotor. It's a coated rotor. I highly recommend these in salty and wet environments. It prevents rust, and it's just better quality overall. So we'll throw her on. Just going to line up the holes with the caliper, or the bolt holes again. And if you want, when you're feeling brave, get a lot of lube in there. And you can even put some on the threads here and use it to hold it again. This will help with reassembly. And also, just make sure she's seated. All right, if you're replacing your calipers and you have two, always make sure you have a left and a right. And if you haven't put it in the box already, compare both of them. This one actually says left, which is a good thing. But if you look here, they are identical. And the right one will be completely opposite of this. So make sure you install the right one before you bolt everything up. If you have a vise or a wrench or anything, I always recommend taking these off first and installing the caliper bracket. Trying to put this on is just too cumbersome. And when this is hanging down, we can hook this up much easier, as I'll show you. All right, now that you have this out, it's a lot easier to lubricate it now, because if you put it on here and try and lubricate it, it's gonna get on your rotor. So you're just gonna put it in here. Just do it sparingly. You don't have to be crazy here. Get both sides. Same thing here. And then we're going to throw on the steel clips. Sometimes you're going to have an upper and a lower clip, so compare all four. And all four appear to be the same, so we don't have to worry. So you're going to hold your caliper like this, and see right here, this is the most important thing. These like to stick out and rub on the edge of the rotor here, and that's where you can have a squeal. So they'll sit like this and rub on the end there. So we got to see to make sure that seats properly. You put your thumb in here, and if you look right here, it's pretty damn flat. That's what we're looking for. So that won't touch the rotor. And another thing you gotta check out with these is sometimes there's not much lube in here. And you know what? It can have a tad bit more. We don't have to go crazy here. If you put too much lube in there, it puts too much pressure this way, and you're actually causing more issues. So I just want enough to coat it. It doesn't have to be crazy here. And we'll push it down, make sure all the air is out, as you see here. That's nice, the air came out. You hear the little popping noise. Same thing, we'll do this one too. Just a little more than what they put in there. Again, we'll push it in. There, we got the air out. Just do that a few times. You may have to crack it, push on it, boom, it's seated back. You just don't want it pushing like this with all the air and the grease. All right, cool. All right, there's a clip. All right, we'll install your two 14 mils again. If you have a wheel buffer and whatnot, you can buff this out and get all the dirt out of here. It helps, and believe it or not, rust actually helps it lock up. So, all right, we're gonna install the caliper. It might be a little tight at first. I always start with the bottom one because that's where gravity goes. And she's threading up, but she seems weird, so we're just gonna put this one in. And it's a new caliper. It may fight you for a little bit. Okay, now we got that in. We'll just slowly tighten it by hand. And now that I have this ratchet on there, it's actually not that bad. You gotta remember, you're using old bolts with new threads, so it might feel a little tight at first. And that's mostly in. I just want to start up here again. Snug, we'll come back and tighten that. I'll give it a good pull. You want them really snug. You can find the torque specs online, but snug is good. All right, now we're ready to install the pads. You're gonna notice you have 3 different pads here. One's for a left and one's for a right, and we're gonna show you how to tell the difference. So, this is called a squealer. When you hear this, that means your brakes are ready to be replaced, or just a heads up warning from the manufacturer. So, this should always be on the contacting leading edge. And what that means is, as the rotor spins, you're gonna want it on the bottom, because that's gonna be the first place it makes contact. And if it's up here, it's gonna be further away. You don't want that. So this one goes on this side, and the other one goes on the other wheel end. All right, we have the front pad here, and I'm gonna show you the areas to lubricate. So you can lubricate right here, just be, sparing. Down right here where the front ears sit, we're gonna also lubricate the ones on the caliper, and then right here. And then we can throw her in here. This might be a little bit, you might have to fight it. So if you come in at an angle like this, and then push, it should slide right in. We're gonna do the same thing for the back. You can do this blind. So just come in on an angle, and push. And we're gonna lubricate right here. This is so important to prevent squeal down the road, or even in the beginning. Sometimes I find the paint is so thick on here, you gotta grind her down until she's flat again, but just put a little bit right here, and that'll help with a lot of your problems. Now, we're gonna install this. Do this upside down. Sometimes they have a keyway. So, take your screwdriver, you're gonna put pressure right here holding it. I'm gonna come in right here, and just lift up, and then push down. And that's how you get it back on. And don't forget your retaining clip. It's pretty simple. Sometimes you can just press it down with your fingers. I'm gonna use my ratchet as a hammer. And she's all the way in. And just make sure this little notch right here is facing mostly up. You can take a screwdriver and just kind of tweak her a little bit sometimes. So what that does, on the pad, there's a little bump right there, and if you don't get this bang on, she sits right here and it causes a lot of issues. So you want it right in that groove. And you know you're right on the groove when she just slides in right that. So now, I'm gonna put the new 14 mils in. You can start with the top or the bottom, whichever is easier for you. Just thread them in as much as you can. Same with the bottom one. Cool, she's getting snug. So you can do this 2 ways. You can have a little vice grip right here. Don't clamp down too hard. Just pull like this and tighten it, and now you should be able to tighten the rest of the way, just so she bites. Same thing with up top here. Just gonna snug it up. Sometimes they'll bite right away and you won't need it, and there she bit. So there, that's it for there. Now we're gonna hook up the brake line. First thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure there's no dirt in the banjo bolt. So we're gonna clean that out a little bit. She's looking good. So now, your caliper should come with a new banjo bolt and 2 washers. So when you're unthreading it, just catch it. One goes in the top, so you can put it in right here. And the bottom one, you're gonna have to hold it on there. And then you can put this in. Just be careful, if you go aftermarket, the banjo bolt size is going to change, but I do recommend using the one that comes with the caliper. Alright, we got our new wrench here, which is an 11 mil, and we got it on the right side, so we're just going to snug it up. And don't be too hard on this, just give her a little check. Alright, so now we can unthread this. Line lock. Put it off to the side. Get our oil drain catch bin. So you can use this to sometimes pry the rubber off on the bleeder screw, because these things are pretty tight. So you get your thing in there. If not, use a flathead screwdriver. And this bleeder screw should be a 10 mil. I've seen 11s and 12s, but I'm about to find out. And this one's an 11 mil. All right, so you're just gonna crack it and you're gonna let it bleed for now. All right, now that we replaced the caliper, I see it's dripping. So I'm just gonna tighten this up for now, because we've got another side to do. So you just did a brake job and you just did calipers and your pedal's spongy now. So I'm gonna show you what to do to get the air out. So what you need to do is pump your brakes up, hold pressure on there and come to the handbrake and work it a bunch of times. And when you crack that bleeder, air should come out.
3, 2, 1.
Now I'm gonna work the parking brake. Okay, bleed it. And tighten it.
Definitely saw some air come out.
Yeah, okay. And that's why we do the parking brake thing. So she's tightened?
Yep.
And our last step to a good brake job is cleaning up the brake fluid. So these calipers are new and they come painted. And if we leave that brake fluid on there, it's all gonna peel off and that's just unnecessary rust. So, just hit the backside where you had it off. And one of the last steps we're gonna do on the Hyundai Elantra is torque the wheels. If you're gonna be doing this a lot, buy a good torque wrench. This is an I-beam torque wrench and I absolutely love it. So here we go. And you're gonna do it in the star pattern, always. Click. You just wanna do it nice and steady. And you're gonna do this on every tire that you took off.